You know, every year around this time, I can tell when the seasons change by the way the light comes in. Light comes in from the window, and of course, it's starting to set. But it's interesting because spring is coming, and that means a whole new year for many of you. Speaking of that, this is Steve Schiffman, and I want to thank you very much for joining me today in this daily podcast that we put out for you as a salesperson or as a manager to help you do a better job. If you're a manager, I want to give you some tips that'll help you. If you're a salesperson, I definitely want to give you tips that'll help you, and I want you to use them. Please pass this on to other people. We do only 10 minutes, no matter what. We do 10 minutes or less because I don't want you to sit there and listen to everybody else tell you how successful they are. And you're going, well, what happened to me? What happened to you is you. You've just got to make it work for you. And that's easy. That's easy. Just kind of keep focused. So I'm going to talk about something that I think is relatively important today, and that is you can no longer sell the way you used to be selling. Many of you grew up in a technique style that said basically you go in and find out what they need. You say, well, what do they need? What do you need? What problems? What's keeping you awake? That's not going to work. And not only that, because of travel and the internet, you don't have to go there. I used to travel, and I did at one point travel 4 million miles on just American Airlines during the course of my career. 4 million just on American. I was on a program, the gold program in the card, where they said to me, you are that person for the rest of your life or the rest of the program. You don't have to do that anymore. People don't have to travel because you have the techniques that you can use, such as video. For example, I'm with you right now. You can see the sun. You know I'm with you. I'm with you right now talking to you about what's important. And you can do the same thing with your clients. You can set up a video conference. You don't have to go there. However, there are some things that I think you need to think about. Number one is, are you prepared for a video conference? That is, do you have to find notes? Do you know what you're talking about? Is it easy to show, illustrate what it is that you want to accomplish? Number two, what is it that you want to accomplish? I coach a lot of people during the course of the week. And I say to them, when you're doing a video conference, they, oh, you know, we're doing that. I go, well, what is it that you want to accomplish? Well, I want to explain what we do. Really, is that it? Or do you want to get to the next step? Because the next step is really the key. So telling them what we do is irrelevant if it doesn't lead to something. So your video conference, whatever you're doing, however you want to look at it, has to lead to something else. If it doesn't, if all it is a good conference, and you say to your boss or your manager, hey, this was a great conference, that means nothing. A good conference that doesn't lead to something is really irrelevant. It's just like traveling out to Texas from New York, and you get there, you have a great meeting, the guy is wonderful, the woman is wonderful, and you go, oh, this is great. And then when you get home, you go, what did I accomplish? And didn't accomplish anything. So I don't want you to do that. I want you to understand that your video conference has to have the same thing as it does for if you were actually there. So that's number two. Number three, what are the takeaways and how do you make sure that the person you're talking to actually gets those? I like to send the PowerPoint if that's what I'm using. Now, that may not be the right thing for everybody because sometimes the PowerPoint can be confusing. It may be just key bullet points that you have, in fact, discussed with them. So just keep it to that. Keep it to the key bullet points. And maybe there are 5 or 6 or 7, or that's it. Or maybe even it's a picture. I have a client I'm working with now that does concrete, cement concrete into the dirt that holds up telephone poles. Who knew, right? But that's what they do. And their picture of their product tells everything. It really does. There's one picture this way, one picture this way, and that's it. And that's all they really need to do to explain it. Because to the person who's going to buy it, they understand that photograph or that picture. So is that all you really need, or do you need more? You've got to think about that when you're doing a video conference. The other thing, which is maybe the most important, is how do you know, and listen now, how do you know they actually understand what you've said? The fact they go, doesn't mean anything. The fact they acknowledge that you're there doesn't mean anything. So you've got to have some way for them to recognize, poll in essence, some recognition that in fact what you're saying has some meaning to them. If it doesn't, then it really doesn't matter. I mean, the fact that they're listening to you, or you think they're listening. Remember, sometimes you don't see the person, especially if you put up a screen. You don't see the person. So how do you know they're listening to you? How do you know they're acknowledging? How do you know they understand what you're saying? See, in person, you can do that. I remember years ago, I went on a sales call, and quite frankly, two people glazed over in the middle of the call. They just glazed over. I mean, the whole meeting just stopped. And I turned to them and I said, listen, I'm sorry, I'm just a little lost here. Usually at this point, I've got some buy-in and I'm not feeling that. I'm not getting that. And one of them said, well, the fact is we've made a decision to use somebody else and we didn't want to tell you and all this other stuff. And I said, oh, that's okay. Not that it is, that's okay. And I picked up my stuff and I left, but at least I knew. Sometimes you go on a sales call and there's been a decision made already, but you don't know that. You don't know that the decision has been made, and therefore you're in there selling your little heart out, but you don't know that somebody has decided against you. They're going with somebody else. So you need to know that. You need to understand that. And one of the things that I dislike is that salespeople, many salespeople, will start off a meeting by saying, is there anything that changed since we talked? Well, many things have changed. The weather changed. It's now springtime. I don't know. But don't ask the stupidest question you can. That's like asking the question, which we've talked about, is there anything that I can do to make this sale? What do I need to do to make this sale? That is just so crass. I don't understand how people say that. All right, so this is what we've picked up. What we've picked up is you don't have to go to every meeting. You can do it by video. You can do it by telephone. You can do it a million different ways, but you have to know how to do it. And if I were you, what I would do is practice my video presentation. That's not so difficult. You and I have talked about practicing cold calling. We've talked about how it takes about 3 hours to really learn that. Well, when was the last time you stood in front of your camera with your video and actually recorded yourself and played it back and watched? And didn't bury your head in your hands and say, oh, I look terrible, but just said, oh, that's who I am. You ever listen to yourself on a recording and say, wow, boy, I sound different? It's not that you sound different. It's just you haven't heard yourself that way. And it's the same thing with video. I want you to make sure you're comfortable. Dress properly, whatever that means to you. Make sure you look the part. Make sure you are the part. And whatever else you do, make sure at the end you walk away with a next step. Here's my deal now, wholly different situation now. We are willing to give you, if you will write to us in your email that you've watched this particular program, we will give you 20 minutes of free consultation on the topic of sales. Can you beat that? I don't think so. So give me a call or write to me, email sschiffman@steveschiffman.com, or go through the website. And let me know you're interested, and I'll be glad to set something up. We'll do something on video, and I'll see if I can't help you with some of the things you're going through. All right, so this is Steve Schiffman. I want to thank you again for joining me. I appreciate it. I appreciate your attendance, and as always, you humble me by your presence.